So it seems like Offkai is finally over. So obviously it's the 27th today. Offkai ended on the 26th, and there's been a couple of cool announcements and things that have come from it. Honestly, apart from the stuff that we talked about recently, I don't mind Offkai that much, right? But again, I think a lot of the issues with this one booth that a lot of people have been talking about has definitely painted a pretty, kind of bad look, I guess, for them. And I think a lot of people are kind of frustrated by it, despite obviously, how much it does do for VTubing and kind of getting a lot of VTubers a cool event to go to, right? And VTuber fans. But essentially, yeah, if you didn't know, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding one booth at Offkai, being the Fansly booth, which again, they essentially have made the situation a little bit worse, because as you can see here, this is actually the second post they have made. They made one post before on Offkai day one, where they said, hey, we're like here, and this is the booth that we've got. And apparently this booth is so big that people are using it as like a GPS metric for people to find other booths, right? Like they're saying, where are you? Oh, I'm like east of the Fansly booth, right? That's like what they're saying. It's almost like I don't know how to describe it, like the Mecca of like Offkai. It's so big. It's so what do you call it, just noticeable that you can't really avoid it, right? And the big issue that people have had with this is the fact that this company is obviously has been in the exhibitor hall, and the exhibitor hall is obviously open to everybody, including obviously 13-year-olds and up, who are allowed to attend the event or go around the event without any guardian or anything like that, right? And this booth is very much within all of this, right? Now, Offkai does have a separate section for 18 plus stuff and things like that, which we covered, but Fansly for some reason wasn't included in that, which a lot of people were very confused at, because again, I think it's totally okay to have a separate kind of area for it if you just check like people are at the right age and whatever, but people are concerned about the fact of, yeah, obviously children running about and, coming across this and maybe even taking a photo of the QR code that they have up here, which sends you to a site with a bunch of different VTubers, as we covered in the last videos. We've got people like Camilla and Cottontailva and Victoria, people like that, right? The people who make content on the site, which again, no one has any problem with them making things on a site. Well, some people do, but that's not my problem. And I think the majority of normal people's problems, nobody cares about, if people make content on the site or even about the site itself, right? It's more so just the kind of location of this booth or whatever you want to call it, and the fact that Offkai hasn't really responded to any of it, or maybe like reassured some people that it was going to be okay. Now, I've had some comments as well, some people asking like, how many kids would be attending the event, like, it costs a lot to travel to a place like this and things like that, but you got to understand there definitely are plenty of people who would go this far that would be under the age of 18, and sometimes it would be the fact of it's not even necessarily them traveling on their own, they could be with their family, and some people are saying, well, they're with a guardian, which sometimes that would make sense, right? The guardian can just kind of like be like, no, don't look at that, and just kind of move them away, right? But at the same time as well, there's also many that just go, all right, go have fun, and then they'll go and have like a coffee at the cafe, like, or whatever they have there. I don't know exactly what kind of beverage stations they have there, but you get what I mean, right? Some parents just go, all right, go have fun, and say, if you need me, I'll be right here. And it's a very common thing. So I wouldn't just assume that every single parent is keeping an eye on them and making sure that they aren't going into places like this. And honestly, I think it's more so on the event, for them, kind of putting this in, the exhibitor space, so that they are, exposed to this, right? Which again, the thing that has actually made this worse though, because obviously that's just kind of a recap of what we talked about in the previous videos. The thing that people have a problem with now though, is the fact that they've made another post here. Obviously I said they made a day one post, right? And they made a day two post. Now the day one post was very heavily negatively received, right? Everybody was commenting on it, being like, why are you doing, like, why are you promoting this stuff to children and things like that, right? I don't know why they thought this was a good idea to be like, yeah, you know what, that first post that did so well, that was such a banger, let's just do another one, right? It doesn't make any sense. I know they're still going to be there regardless and whatever, but I don't know who's running the Twitter and thought it was a good idea to do it again. But of course, they've still got more backlash from this, saying liking certain VTubers gets you labeled as a PDF. But if a blank company wants to advertise their blank site at a con with kids on the main floor, it's totally fine. Stunning and brave. And obviously you can see that, you know, these kind of things are being read by Fansly and by, you know, the company and whatever. And for some reason, they aren't responding to these ones or giving some kind of, you know, justification as to why they are in this main hall, right? And you can see here, they've also, this time, they've got Project Melody right on the front there. Now, of course, you know, it's a bit of a, what do you call it, risky outfit, but of course it is a VTuber convention at the end of the day. There's always going to be a lot of, you know, outfits like that. So again, you know, I don't really have any problem with her being on the board or anything like that. It's just more so things, for example, like the QR codes that people are a little bit worried about, because again, you know, kids have phones, they can look up these QR codes and then instantly they get exposed to some pretty suggestive media. Now, the actual websites themselves didn't actually, you had to log in to see the, like, you know, nudity and whatever that was included on the website. But a lot of the other videos that weren't censored and you could just look at straight up, they were still extremely suggestive and extremely, you know, they were, if they weren't showing things off, they were talking about a lot of things, right? Which again, you know, that's fine for their content, but it's not so fine if, you know, you're letting anybody view this, right? And obviously, yeah, if you've said, have you ever considered not advertising to kids? Saying, why are you promoting blank to children? Saying, oh, look, a camera pointed at a Fansly booth, a QR code. What's that? Said the inquiring 13-year-old. You are vile, allowing adult content to play without an account. Which, yeah, saying it is crazy to me that people find it okay to have a blank booth in the middle of a kid-friendly convention. Is just PDF on display, and people are defending it. Then, nah, I'm good. They're kind of wild, the image of Melody they went for. Like, why is it not cropped more? Even if it was one to say in the middle of the booth itself is fine or not, I feel like like that should be the minimum addressed. So yeah, and I think that's the weird thing, right? Because it's not even the fact that, you know, people have been obviously very angry at it, whatever. And sure, like maybe Fansly have a different opinion on it, or maybe Offkai have a different opinion on it, but it's the weird thing that they haven't actually like responded at all, right? They haven't defended it. They haven't been like, you know, and sometimes that just kind of makes you think like, do they have anything to defend this, right? Do they want to kind of defend it, or do they know that they don't really have a valid point to be like, actually, you know, it's okay to have this in a convention that could possibly have children running around here, right? So again, I don't know. I don't know if that maybe is why they haven't responded. Maybe it's just because they don't want to fuel further backlash and things like that, because again, maybe if they try to defend it, then of course it's going to blow up into an even bigger situation, which I guess I could understand. But yeah, very odd, and a lot of people were very interested in that. People saying, let me get this straight. The VTuber Kirsche was too controversial and had to be blacklisted from Offkai because she committed the cardinal sin of wrong think. But a blank site openly advertised in front of kids at the same convention. Make it make sense. So blank advertised a convention with children at it. Disgusting. And obviously you can see it says child badges. Children under the age of 13 must be accompanied by an adult at all times. So obviously that's under the age of 13. So there's also people under 13 that can go. But there's people, you know, 13 to 18, well, actually no, 13 and up can go completely wherever they want without anybody with them. Which obviously, including this booth, right? So obviously that's the problem that people have, right? And again, obviously it keeps going. And just a reminder, if you're a VTuber and people find out you have one kid in your Discord, you're automatically a blank. But if you're a convention, you can advertise blank at the front door of all ages event, and that says absolutely nothing about you. Saying you guys literally promote blank to kids, saying why are blanks being promoted at Offkai. Again, I don't have a problem with that, by the way. I don't have a problem with any of the people, you know, that use Fansly or even Fansly, the website itself, right? You know, if they want to do that, they want to do that, right? But it's just more so, I think there's a place to promote it, and I think that place should have been the separate kind of ID'd place where all the other kind of 18 plus stuff is, because of course there is like this kind of, you know, I don't know if you call it like a subculture in VTubing that has a lot of lewd stuff and things like that people enjoy and want to, you know, like and whatever, and that's fine, right? It's just more so, yeah, like what are we doing? Like it should be in like a separate space where, you know, obviously, as I said, kids shouldn't be able to just like run around it and go into it, right? Which, you know, again, it's too late now, of course, because you know, Offkai is now over. They have now, you know, had this booth up and it's all done now. But it is just concerning, right? And especially the next one, it's going to be interesting to see if they do this again, especially the backlash, because I guess what would be the best move maybe for them, I say the best move, obviously it's not the best move. They should have like addressed it, maybe went, okay, yeah, we're actually going to move it. That should have been the best move. But the second best move, I guess, would be to be like, okay, let's just, you know, do things as they are now. And then next Offkai, let's just suggest moving them into a different place. Or maybe not having a booth there or whatever, because again, if it happens again next year, the backlash is only going to get more intense, right? So it's honestly up to them to see how they want to kind of navigate that and handle that. But it is pretty interesting, right? At the end of the day, how it has been handled, and well, I say how it has been handled, the little that it has been handled, and the little that people's answers are being answered. No, questions are being answered. That's what I meant. How little people's questions are being answered whenever it comes to this. And yeah, I mean, there hasn't been really, it's been radio silence from both of them in regards to this matter, despite them very obviously interacting with other people in the comments and seeing what people are commenting on their posts. So yeah, interesting, right? But yeah, that's essentially all there is for this situation. Just kind of wanted to cover that. Of course, as I said, Offkai is over now, so I guess the backlash will die down again for this year. But next year, if it does happen again, as I said, it will probably end up being even bigger. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.